Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.
And Happy Black History Month.
Happy Black History Month.
I thought today about what did I want to tell you, and I decided I'm going to tell you kind of a love story. You've heard a version of this before, some of you. But in June, this coming June, my friend Pat and I are going to be going to Morocco, where just 3 years ago, I met, married, and divorced the same man on one balmy evening in Marrakesh. I was in a tour group. I went with Gate 1. If you're not familiar with them, look them up. They're a great tour group. But at Gate 1, their routine is that before the tour actually begins, the night before, there is a meeting with the tour manager, and there is a welcome dinner. So my travel companions and I went down to the room where the meeting was going to occur, and there were a few other tour members there, and so we chatted and got to know each other a little bit, and we're just, hanging out. And the time came for the meeting, and most of the people were there, and we were so like, no, I guess our tour manager's running late. But at that point, this man walked through the door, and I stopped breathing, and my heart skipped a beat. It wasn't a handsome man, but there was a presence about him that I immediately sensed that just made my heart skip a beat. Don't know what it was, but it was there. Whew. So he came in and he sat down. It was a U-shaped configuration of tables with one here, and that was him, and he was the tour manager. He came in and he said, "Hi everyone, I'm Abdul. I'm your tour manager. Would you please find a place to sit and we'll get started?" So we all had already sort of previously decided where we were going to sit. So we sat, and he started to tell us about the tour, the times that the bus would leave, and what was expected in the protocols, and this and that and the other. And I will admit that half of my brain was listening to what he said, and the other half of my brain was trying to figure out what was going on here. Could not quite figure that out, because it was something I hadn't gone through in years. But got through it. And then he said, like everybody, to introduce themselves, tell us how many Gate 1 trips you've been on, tell us a little bit about, what you've enjoyed and who you are. So we did that. And again, half of my brain was listening to the people talk, and the other half of my brain was still, what the heck? Got through the night. Started the tour the next day. On day 3, Abdul, for a reason unknown to me, flirted with me. I'm not missing that chance. I flirted back. And he laughed and flirted back with me. And so for the 11 days of the tour, starting at day 3, he and I just kind of developed this flirty relationship kind of thing. We never really got to spend any alone time, but we had a lot of flirty across the room, or maybe getting on or off the bus. We had that time. And it was just fun. It was just fun for me, because I am this closer to 80-year-old woman, and here's this 50-something-year-old guy, and he's flirting with me, and I'm like, not passing this opportunity up, right? So we just flirted the whole time. Well, the last night of the trip was the farewell dinner. And after the dinner, people went back to their rooms to pack and get ready, because people's flights went any time from 2 in the morning till 2 the next afternoon. My flight wasn't until midday, so I wasn't real worried about getting my packing done, because I was in pretty good shape. But Abdul stopped me and he said, "Would you like to go for a cup of tea at a nearby cafe?" Yeah, I sure would. So off we went. And we got to the first intersection. Now in Morocco, in Marrakesh, traffic is chaotic. And any traffic sign is more of a minor suggestion than it is anything else. So as we stood at the curb, Abdul took my hand and he looked me in the eye and he said to me, "We are now married." Okay. Led me through the traffic, 6 lanes. We got to the next, we stood up on the curb, and he dropped my hand. And I said, "Oh, does this mean we're now divorced?" And he laughed and he said, "Yeah, I guess it does." So we went to the next intersection again. He took my hand, looked me dead in the eye, and very seriously said, "We are now married." Took me across the street, dropped my hand, and at the same time we both laughed and said, "We're divorced." Well, we happened to be right in front of the cafe at that point, so we sat, and we were there for a couple of hours and had tea. If you've never had Moroccan tea, you should go to Morocco because it's lovely, right? You had Moroccan tea. I like the Moroccan tea. So we sat and we talked, and I really don't remember a lot of what we talked about, but I do remember two parts of our conversation. The first one was, I said, "What's this we're now married business?" as we crossed the streets. And he said, "Well, Morocco is liberal as far as Muslim countries go, but it is still a Muslim country. And so a woman out by herself or with a man to whom she's not married could be stopped and questioned. And by holding hands, people knew that we were together. And I wanted to make sure that you were safe." Stole my heart. Right? I thought that is so sweet that he would do that, and I thanked him for it. And we continued then talking. Now again, I don't remember a lot of it, but somehow the conversation turned to us and the flirting that we'd been doing all week. And he said to me, "I don't want you to think I hope I'm not being offensive or disrespectful, but I would like for you to know that during this week, I have come to care for you. And I just want you to know that." And I'm sitting there thinking, I am an almost 80-year-old fat woman. Now, so some of you might remember that I was 80 pounds heavier than I am now. And I'm thinking, and I basically said to him, "How could you, this fine younger man, I'm older than your mother, be at all interested in this old fat woman?" And before I could say anything else, he went, "Stop. Stop." He said, "I do not see you the way you say that you see yourself. When I look at you, I see a girl full of laughter and life, with a kind heart, and at this point he blushed a little bit, a pretty face." And I'm like, "Oh," and I looked at him to laugh with him because it was so not happening. And he clearly said, "7? Seriously? I'm so sorry. I'm almost done." He said, "It's true." And I saw in his eyes and realized that it was true. And so at that point, I began to rediscover the woman that I thought had been lost for a long time. And I came home and began to reinvent myself. And so tonight I appear before you as not wearing my black Storyteller t-shirt and not wearing my red Christmas t-shirt, but wearing what I hope is my new model. Because I am, in fact, a work in progress. If you can't read it, it says, "Assuming I'm just an old woman was your first mistake." Shukran, thank you.